My good gentlemen, I believe, if I am correct, we are absolutely live right now. So I just want to say, welcome everyone to the Hakeem Pierre Show. And tonight is a special night. Now, here's the thing. I always hear conversations amongst women, right? What was he thinking when he did what he did? What was he thinking when he let me go? What was he thinking when he broke up with me? What was he thinking when he did something right or wrong or left or up or down, whatever? Tonight, you shouldn't have any other questions. Tonight is to make sure that you, by the end of this show, have all of your questions answered. And I'm not gonna do it. I got 4 geniuses with me who are gonna help me get the job done. And I'm gonna allow them to introduce themselves because these men are not just gonna provide insight, they're gonna provide great insight, all right? So last time I started off, I just picked the person that I wanted to start off with, and I'm gonna shuffle up things a little bit tonight, and I'm gonna go to Primo, Dr. Fidel Wilson.
Well, it's about time you start showing me some respect. You think you get your doctorate degree, it'll earn you a little respect. I still get no respect. But I'm Fidel Wilson. I am a higher ed professional for about 15 years. I have a background in social work and higher ed leadership. I'm very much interested in terms of my area of focus and study on working with young African-American males and providing them with the skills they need to be the leaders of the future. So I'm very happy to be here. I appreciate my time hanging out with you cool brothers every time we get the opportunity.
You just tuned in to Fidel Wilson Radio. It sounds like a smooth jazz set is about to come on. I enjoy my time hanging out with you brothers. Smooth jazz. I love that man. You know, next, I am going to go straight to my young homie. Just seeing him makes me smile. Right? It really does, because he's that cool of a dude. Dejan Alford, can you introduce yourself?
Man, thank you so much, everybody, for having me. I get just as excited when I see all of you individuals, because not only do I get to share my little tidbit, but I get to learn from you guys as well. And I've always been appreciative. I look forward to these meetings that we have. I'm a comedian, so I've been doing comedy for about 3 or 4 years now, but I've always been funny. So not too many people know this. But when I attended Seton Hall University, I always like to tell this story. Hakeem came up to me and he noticed my light at a very early point that I may not have noticed, but he pulled me to the side one day. I'll never forget it. And he said, Dejan, I just want to let you know that I see you, and I understand your capabilities and what you have the power to do. Like, I understand your God-given talent. But he finished it off and he was like, but you need to understand that there's a time and a place for everything. That stuck with me for the rest of my life. And I don't know if you knew that, but that comment stuck with me for the rest of my life. Because even though I knew back then when I was younger that I may have been overdoing it, I was too immature to understand the fact that I didn't have to do what I was doing, but I could still receive the same type of attention. So I have never forgot that comment. And I use that throughout my entire life. I know now that there's a time and a place for everything. And tonight is one of those times. So thank you for having me. I appreciate all of you guys. That's my little spiel.
My man, you know what, Fidel? That's what Mr. Bolden told me.
I was going to say, somebody probably had to tell you that.
He was like,
He passed
Must
that
every
down.
Black man be a comedian? And I was
Right.
like, well, when you put it like that,
Right.
I was Tejan. No,
That's called paying it forward.
pay it forward. Pay it forward.
Yeah.
Speaking of paying it forward, we have a gentleman who does just that. Every time I turn around, he's doing it in some different way. We have Dr. Emmanuel Mercedes. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, brothers, how are you? So happy to be here tonight. You guys hear me clearly?
Clearly.
Absolutely.
Right when we got started, all of a sudden I lost sound. And I'm like, oh my goodness, is this a conspiracy? I'm sorry, man, but I'm so happy to be here tonight. I feel like this time and this space that we have here, it's something that I look forward to, an opportunity to talk with the guys about our experiences and share our wisdom that we've picked up along the way, lessons that we've picked up along the way. And man, I feel like I get re-energized every time I speak to you guys, seriously. The fact that we have a history that goes back years in one way or another, and the fact that we did this a few years ago and we're back at this again and we're able to maintain the momentum as we have in the last few months. This is something that I'm really, really passionate, really excited about. I'm hoping that we will continue to do this. And for those who don't know me, I'm a psychologist, a licensed psychologist in the state of New Jersey and New York. I have a private practice in Colville, New Jersey, and I'm also working at a community clinic in Dover, New Jersey. And I get to do some amazing work on a daily basis, and I'm extremely thankful that I've been given the opportunity to do this as a profession, but also to be able to share this space with my friends over here. So thank you.
My man, I appreciate you, Manny. For real. We go back. Either you're gonna do one of two things. Either you're gonna save the best, you're gonna introduce the headliner right away, or you're gonna save the best for last. So either way, it's a special thing when you got Mark Turner, a man of coolness and wisdom, and there's very few people that I look up to for, but you're one of those people, man. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Hakeem. Thanks for having me. It's great seeing the brothers again. And, as the oldest guy on the line, thanks for letting the old guy share with you. But Hakeem, you're like my little brother, man. I tell you, we go back sometime too. I think it's Agape. I joined the church in 2004 and you were there. So, gosh, we're talking 16 years. And yeah, you were just a little guy then. So always admired you, man. Always admired you. Thanks for having me. Again, my name is Mark Turner. I'm a human resources professional. That's my profession. I've been in HR for 30 years. Ooh, almost 40 years. For 30 years in all facets of human resources. My specialty has been talent acquisition. It used to be called recruiting. Currently now, not in the working full-time in HR. I actually have started my own business a month or two ago. You'll hear more about that. Doing career counseling, mainly for the employee side, helping folks in their job search, their career path, interviewing techniques, resume techniques, legal issues along those lines that I'll be doing that, helping folks there. As you guys know, I've been married a long time. Hopefully I can add some light to experience and relationship experience. I've been married for 43 years. And which is crazy because I'm only 44 years old. So
absolutely, absolutely.
To have somebody in the group that's been married longer than some of us have been alive. I'm not saying which one of us, but some of us.
Oh yeah,
that is impressive. Let me tell you.
But it's great to be able to share. I'm not an expert in everything, and there's no such thing as the perfect marriage. You guys, I think everybody knows that. But hopefully I can share something and show some wisdom, some of my experiences. And again, thanks for having me. Just great to see you brothers again.
Hey, Manny, every time Mark introduces me, it makes me feel like I'm under 35. It feels good. He's like, yeah, Hakeem's like my younger brother, just a little guy, just a young guy, just a young whippersnapper.
You're lucky he didn't say my son.
I'll take it. I would have.
You could have said it. You could have said it.
I will take that and run with it. Listen, I have to make sure tonight that when it comes to the question of what men want in a relationship, that as many answers are provided as possible. For those watching, for those who will watch, for those who are going to have their grandchildren watch, because it's that educational. All right. Before I do that, I really want to get into a couple things. Number one, I want you to hit the subscribe button if you're watching this at any point. All right. Just click it. That's number one. All right. And number two, I want to take this time to do something a little different. I want to actually interview the people in the man cave. So I want to know specific questions, right? I want to know specific answers to specific questions. And the first one I have for you tonight is, what were you looking for? What were or are you looking for in a relationship? If you can think back to that time, right? Women want to know, what do men want? If you can think of those, maybe those top 3 things that you want, or actually just give me one, and then we can circle back around. What is the number one thing you are looking for in a relationship as a man?
Can I start?
Say that again?
Can I jump in, or are you going to choose?
Go for it. No, you can jump right in, because I choose you. I was going to go with you first, and then you felt it. Go for it.
My last name is Wilson, so you can imagine in school, I always got called on last. Last name that starts with a, I have something there. I don't know what it is. Maybe, Manny, you and I can talk.
We might have to talk about this. Yeah.
Tell me the psychology of that. But so right when you said it, and I've been waiting to jump on this discussion, because I'm going to be as honest and as raw as possible. You know, when everyone says opposites attract, I don't know how I feel about that, but I think at the root of that, for me, was intrigue, right? Intrigue. That, without articulating that, that's really what I was looking for. What separated one possible suitor from the next was intrigue. And so sometimes I think people try to do too much, try to overcompensate. And so they put all they have out in front at the beginning. And sometimes you appreciate that, but there's no lasting impression. And so for me, intrigue, the ones that I didn't know too much about, but I wanted to know more, that is what I was looking for.
I got to push the envelope a little bit.
Push it.
What were you intrigued? What intrigued you?
So it's kind of like I said, I think that sometimes people try to overcompensate. They try to, in layman's terms, we would say they're doing too much. And you'll see some people like that. But it was those that gave you a little bit of themselves, just enough for you to be interested to want to know more. And I don't know if those, young ladies were doing that intentionally, but it was enough for me to say, I want to know more. And it's funny, you can know a person for 20 years and still want to know more. There's a way for you to maintain that sort of intrigue. And so for me, it was the young ladies that maybe didn't necessarily make their presence known up front, but they gave you enough for you to notice them and to want to know more. And so for me, that's everything. That's everything. It's going to be the difference between me going left and right. This idea of, I want to know more about this person. So
we have a man who says intrigue. I want to get back to that, because that's pretty loaded, right? I'm going to jump to Brother Mark. When you were looking, what were you looking for? And then did that evolve over time?
So, just again, you have to be, you can't discount one of the main things, and that's number one, physical attraction. So I was looking for somebody who physically attracted to. It's like, that's like, that's number one.
Amen.
Hey,
So
Well, if
you'll
we're
never
gonna,
hear Dejan say amen.
Hey,
there you go.
if we're gonna be
you'll never
honest,
hear me say amen, but I was hoping nobody said it because when they got to me, I'll be like,
Oh.
yeah, that's all cute. But
Yeah.
So go for it, brother Mark. Go for it.
So that's number one. Again, remember,
Just real quick. I thought that was understood. I thought that was
Right.
kind of
It's
like,
a given.
I was like,
we
off
don't.
the
Yeah,
bag.
I took
Off
it
the
as a
bag.
given.
You know what it
But-
was? It's just that when I heard Dejan say it, it just came from another angle. But you know what, brother Mark, I'm glad you're saying that because
Oh, man.
that's very real. So
important.
dive into that for us tonight.
so yeah, so that's the first thing that I was looking for. Again, I was very young. I got married right after college, and so number one, you're looking for someone who's attractive. But beyond that, okay, that's the first thing. And beyond that, it's the inner beauty, it's the inner attractive, being with someone, loving to be in that company. That's number two, enjoying being with that person. But number three is having the same goals in life. Both of you aiming towards the same thing, and I think that's important in any relationship. We first got married. We knew we were young, didn't have a whole lot of money. It can make you laugh about our first apartment in Brooklyn. But we had a goal, and we worked together towards that goal, and it was great just having a partner. And something, Dr. Fidel, that you said a couple of years back that I'll never forget. And very simple, you said, I'm looking for that ride or die. I don't know if you remember when you said that.
I do.
And so, and that's a great thing when the two of you can work together in a goal. So, I took it in steps. Number one is the physical attraction. Number two, it's that inner attraction that you're attracted to, liking to be with it, wanting to be with that person, loving their personality, loving just being with them. And number three, as you move together and get more serious, it's having those same goals, two of you working together towards something, to build something together. So that's kind of what I was looking for. Again, it started out with physical attraction and everything else, and even to this day, as things. And I always tell people change, and that's good. I tell people I'm married to about 3 or 4 different women over the last 40 years. It's the same woman, but 3 or 4 different women, and she's married probably to 3 or 4 different men too.
Yeah, clean that up.
So you have to be willing to accept that change, to work with that change as well. So yeah, that's
You know what?
that answers your question.
I gotta nitpick at. I'm about to come back to number 2, but before I get to number 2, because number 2 really intrigued me. I gotta say, when you said 3 or 4 different people,
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? That sounds like it could be me. And then I'm like, wait, do I have to schedule something with Dr. Manny? 2 or 3 different
Multiple
people.
personalities. Are we going with that in the direction?
So I'm interested in number 2. Number 2, it struck me because you said that inner beauty, that personality. What is it about Sister Becky? Shout out to Sister Becky right now. She's a great woman. I love that woman, and she fine, y'all. She fine. All right. So not that it has nothing to do with y'all, but you know what I mean. What was it about Sister Becky's personality, that inner beauty? So inner beauty is the overall, but you said within this inner beauty, there's the personality. Let's hit that personality. What was it about Sister Becky's personality that got you?
And you know what's funny is that Fidel hit it on the head when he said that intrigue, not putting it all out there. All my girlfriends, and to this day we laugh about it. Now, all my girlfriends were like, prior to that, like, did anything I said jump, snap, they jumped. She was total opposite. At first I was wondering, did she really like me? She didn't like PDA, public displays of affection. She didn't like that. I'd call her up, do you want to go out? Well, if you want to go out, okay. It's up to you. It's fine. I'm like, wait, don't you want to go out with me? Yeah, but
Don't you know who I am?
yeah. She was,
Ask about me.
I wasn't used to that. I was used to, the jump and all that stuff. I love the intrigue, but yet being with her was it was a challenge. But I had to work for it. But after that, we both in the same church. We both had the same spiritual and religious beliefs. We're into music. She sang, I played. As you guys know, I'm a musician as well. Those things. So it seemed like it gelled while we were dating. courting, as they used to say. And we courted. We really courted. And so those are the things I look for. I look for those qualities, the similarities in our beliefs, in our goals. She was a nice person, you know. Some girls that you date are just not nice people. You know, they don't have, they don't get along with people. They don't have a genuine love and concern for people. Even to
They might be nice to you, but they're not nice to other people, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even now today, my wife is one of the heads of the women's ministry. They reach out to, all the domestic violence, cancer, all those types of things. She's got the love for people. She's always had that. That attracted me to her as well.
Somebody's frying chicken in the background.
That's Rebecca.
Okay, there you go. And let that be a lesson to you. No, like, all right, so.
It's not fried chicken though.
All right, I'm just kidding.
And she can cook too, by the way.
Even when she's not on screen, she teaches us. Okay, so, I'm hearing intrigue, and then Brother Mark, I gotta come back to you later because you said something, she made me work for it.
Yeah.
I can hear women right now, because it's a liberated time. So we're gonna get back to that. I'm gonna go straight down to Dr. Manny. Dr. Manny, what were you, if you could say just that top thing that you were looking for, what was it?
See, I was trying to figure out how to answer that question because there was a few things were going through my head. I think the first thing is that depending where you caught me in my development as an adult, I was looking for different things, man. And to be honest with you, when I met my wife, I had been forced to grow into a point in my life. I'll just say it like that, to be able to recognize someone of value when that person was in front of me. Prior to that, I was probably being, I was immature about my relationships. I wasn't really digging deep into what, even thought even into what I was looking for a relationship. I saw somebody that I found attractive and I engaged or pursued, but I wasn't really thinking about what with any depth about whether or not this is going to go anywhere or the value of the person that I was seeing in front of me. I don't think that a lot of people even think about relationships in that way. And oftentimes just engage in relationships more from an attraction and a feel good perspective, So by the time that I got to meet my now wife, I think the thing that I wanted to, there were a couple of things, but one of the things that I wanted to feel was a deep sense of connection and acceptance. Like I wanted to meet someone, or I wanted to be with someone that I could be myself with. And that was super important for me because up to that point, there's always kind of like these games that sometimes we play. We try to pretend to be something or present in a certain way or act in a way that attracts people because we think that that's what people need to see. But, the truth is when someone can see you as you are and for who you are and for who you are, and they are able to accept you and able to take you on, as my wife will sometimes say, it's a pet project and make you a better person, then that kind of changed my whole world. That, of course, with the fact that my wife is gorgeous and that, and she can dance and all the necessary, all the prerequisites.
She can dance.
Not just
you don't know.
I like that.
Don't know,
I like that.
We love salsa dancing, man. We love salsa dancing.
Dr. Manny, let me just say this. They don't just dance. That's an understatement. I've seen it with my own two eyeballs.
All night.
I've never seen people dance like that. They're professionals. He's playing it down. But Dr. Manny, let me dig a little deeper into what you said. You said it depends on when you asked me, but around that time when I met my wife, it was a good time because she accepted me and she allowed me to be who I was. If you could think back to that time, because I'm wondering what specific thing about you, right? What specific moment was it when you really looked at, you had a moment you said, wow, I just did this, and she either laughed at it or she didn't laugh at it, or she made me feel comfortable. Is there a particular moment that you remember?
I think that it was right at the beginning of our relationship where like we were just having conversations. We were, first of all, and this is, I mean, I know different relationships start off different. But for us, it was just a friendship. Like we were just friends, and I would tell her things about myself and tell her stories about who I was and the things that I was interested in and the things that I wanted to pursue, and the things that I kind of and my ideas in general, my experiences. And she was accepting of me at that level, and we were not necessarily pursuing anything at that point. And it became clear to me that, man, this person is super cool, and that's how I would describe it whenever I spoke to someone. I was like, oh man, yo, what's going on with you and Erica? I'm like, oh no, we're just friends. She's super cool, man. You know, but it was because there was that connection there that I was looking for, which, and not that I'm saying that it couldn't have been there with someone else, but that I wasn't necessarily paying attention for that detail, to find someone that was paying attention to me that way also. And so I think that at that point, when our friendship was so tight, and I realized that I could speak to her and say the craziest thing, and she would just listen. I was like, okay, I think that this is someone I can definitely see myself developing a relationship with. And at that point, the I can remember actually thinking about the future. Like it was not so much like, oh, I'm dating this person and just kind of like, it's just, it is where it is for today. It was literally, I was thinking about a future with this person. I didn't know what that future would look like, but I was asking myself, what would a future with Erica look like? And that's, part of my story with her. And since then, it's always been, kind of like this challenge of, accepting each other for who we are, because that is, and like Brother Mark said, we change over time, and then we have to re-engage in that process again of accepting each other again when that person changes, because otherwise you might have a hard time, laying down next to that person.
You know what? You said something. First of all, nobody enjoys the man cave like the man cave. This is freaking great. I'm loving this. Manny said something. You said something, and I just want to. If you're watching this, the man basically said, "I was able to think about the future within the friendship." The friendship and the comfortability and the fact that I could say whatever I wanted. It was in that context I was able to think about the future. We can get back to that, because that is, I didn't know that side, and I think that I listening is so huge, because you can tell a lot about a woman based on just how much she actually listens to what you're saying. I think that's deep. Let me jump to Dejan.
Man, yes, sir.
What is a brother looking for? Straight up.
Fidel already laughing. Fidel laughing. What? I'll say this. I will never say I've never said anything bad about Fidel, but I'll tell you something about going last. It's terrible.
See what I'm saying?
Because everything has been taken, but I do have an extra point. But I will start by saying I agree with everybody on this call, with everything that they said within its entirety. Emmanuel has said one part that, at different stages in his life, he wanted different things, and that without question is 100% truth. I've gone from different stages to, to the point where I'm at now, where I know exactly what it is that I want. But for me, I think it was, when I had came into really understanding who I was as a person and what I needed as a person, it was easier for me to look for the person that I felt would be right for me, because as you know, as everybody on the call know, like my personality can be very big. I actually just had this conversation with my cousin that, I honestly believe in my heart that you could drop me off anywhere in any state and I'll be good. Like I'll be 100% good. And I've actually tested that theory before. But one particular thing that I could think of that nobody else said on the call was that, or maybe if somebody did say it, then I definitely apologize. But one of the things for me that I find to be so attractive is when when a female just looks like she's going somewhere. Like that's sexy to me. She's walking and she, you know, she's on the phone, she's doing this, whatever the case may be. But I like those women that look like they are about something, you know. And then just like Fidel said, I'm intrigued to the point to understand more about this person, to see, you know, what they do. Or, you know, I'm big on getting that secondhand source. Like I'll reach out to somebody that I know knows the individual. Yo, what you think about this person? You know, anything bad, anything negative, whatever the case may be. So, you know, to like tie my point in, I just really like independence within women. You know, I like a girl that, you know, if I say, hey, you know, we're gonna meet at Cuban Pete's, you know, it's like, you know, we'll meet at Cuban Pete's at 7:30. At 7:30, she's there. It's not, well, how do I get there? Which way do I go? No, you know, just straight up independence. Throw it in that GPS, get there, pull up. I don't have to do too much. Not that I don't want to do too much, but I like the independence within women. And I feel like that scares men away sometimes. They don't like for their women to be too independent because they still want to feel needed. And I agree in that aspect. You know, I feel like as men, we all want to feel needed by our significant other. But within the dating stage in the beginning, I love to see a woman, she go to work, she take care of her own bills, she don't need help from nobody. That type of thing really intrigues me. So I hope I answered your question.
So Dejan, if I pose the question like this,
Mm-hmm.
in a relationship, I cannot live without blank.
Laughter.
I know Fidel
Yeah.
laughed because for the same reason I was gonna laugh, but laughter.
Yeah, that laughter is extremely important to me. You know, I'll probably laugh at things that I shouldn't be laughing at sometimes, but you know, but it's funny to me. And Emmanuel said it too, you know, it's like being able to indulge in a conversation with somebody where you both don't have to say it, but you understand that it's a judge-free zone. I can literally say whatever comes to my mind, and without a negative response coming in, it's like, well, wow, you know, I never thought about that. And now we could talk and just laugh about it. One of the things that I always say within my comedy is that I believe laughter is therapeutic. You know, for like a lot of times, some things happen to us in life where it's just like, you can't even believe it. Like, how did this just happen? And for me, the way I deal with those situations is I just laugh, like I start cracking up. And then once I calm down, I'm like, okay, now it's time to take care of what I need to take care of. So I think if there was one thing that I could not live without in a relationship, it would have to be laughter.
Which, Dejan, I think it sounds like a simple thing, but it's actually so much more profound than what people think.
Yes.
Laughter, escapism, all of that
Yes.
stuff. It's deep. We want to answer the questions that the ladies have. I have some ladies, and I have a brother who has a question too. So I'm going to start with the sister who is watching. All right. Blue Ladybug is her name. And she says, do men still court women these days? Do men still court women these days? And I'm going to start it off by going to Dejan on this one.
Yes, absolutely.
Do men still court women?
Absolutely. You know, I think we spoke about this in some of our prior episodes that we've done in the show as well. And I think I was actually the one that brought up the term, or Fidel might have pointed it out too, is that, you know, we do whatever the woman will allow us to do, you know? So if I never offered to go out on a date and you never said nothing about it, but we still talking, having a great time, then, you know, maybe I'm not going to say it because I don't feel like it's necessary. But for me in particular, and I know that there's other individuals like me, like every individual on this call, I take pride in courting women. You know, I actually love that stuff. I love traditions that have been passed down to me from my grandparents. You know, Dejan, never let a lady walk near the street. You know, or you walk near the street. You know, open the door. You know, any lady that's with me, she never has to worry about touching the door. You know, I'll even, if I'm 2 steps behind her, I'll skip to get in front of her just to open the door, you know, so that she doesn't feel obligated to do things like that. And one of the things that I've noticed is that little things like that go so far because, you know, to the lady's point, there are individuals that may not do little things like that. But for the guys that do, like us on this call, we don't have those issues. But
You know,
courting does exist. Yes.
Dejan, you know what? And I asked you because I wanted to know if you see it happening a lot. But you know what? Let me go to Fidel with this question. What's the difference between courting and dating? Right? What is there a difference in your opinion? Because that's a huge debate. And we had a show with with women and Christian women specifically. And that's a big topic. Courting, you have to court versus dating, which seems like something that people do when what is the difference in your opinion?
Well, let me just say, it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, people can use those terms interchangeably. To me, though, if I may put a definition to it,
Please don't.
The difference to me is you can casually date.
Yeah.
You can't casually court.
Say that again for me. The people didn't hear. That's the first time I've heard it put like that. Say that again.
You can casually date, but you can't casually court.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is, if a person says to me they're courting, it means to me that they have the idea that longevity is in the plan. Not that it's guaranteed, but this is the intention. The intention is I'm looking for someone to go the long haul with. If you say you're dating, it doesn't mean that it can't mean that, but it also could mean that I'm just casually dating. If you're dating, it's like, oh, it's not that serious. You can actually entertain other suitors at that point, because it's like, oh, I'm just dating, but no one would ever say that in a courting situation. So to me, it's just, the difference is dating could be serious or not, but courting is always serious.
I got to go to Dr. Manny because the shift between casual and long-term is something that you talked about. There was a shift where you felt so comfortable shifting. What do you think are some of the emotional reasons? When I say emotional reasons, what are some of the reasons that you feel men don't talk about, right? That helps shift them. And of course it's different for every man, but what are some things that may cause a man to shift and think long-term?
I don't know that there is any one specific thing that I will point out at this point. It is, as we have been discussing, there are so many different variables that contribute to a person's decision to say, this is who I want to be with. But I think that there is a sense of differences in priorities that come for you the moment that you are making that shift. Like sometimes what we prioritizing in a dating scenario may not necessarily contribute to a long-term relationship, right? If you are dating someone, but your concept of dating is going out to have dinner, going out dancing, whatever that may be, right? You can literally do all those things and never actually get to know the person you're dating, right? And then one day something happens and you're like, who the hell is this person? Like, what did I get myself into, right? On both ends, right? So the reality is, it's not like, like there's one person that's saying and the other person is not. The truth is that I think that the issue with dating sometimes is that people are not taking the time to get to know each other. It's great, have fun, but if you're really having wanting to shift into that kind of like longevity as a relationship, as Wilson described it, Fidel described it, I would say that is a period of time that you should be getting to know the person, to know the person beyond just the superficial, right? We by the first day you already know their favorite color, their favorite number, what they like to eat. And then if you're dating someone with the intent of a long-term relationship, then you want to know about their values and their family, and you want to know about kind of like their past relationships to some extent. And then you also want to know about some of the difficulties that they may be having. It's not on a therapy level, but it's certainly at a level where you should have an idea of who you are going out on a date with eventually, to some extent. And I agree 100% that the learning about the other person never ends. First, you can never fully know the other person. And then the person changes up on you for one reason or another. Different stages in life causes you to change. Right. And so you have to continue to date that person. So when people say dating, or like, hey, you have to continue to date that person, I think people often think, oh, you have to continue taking me out to dinner,
That's exactly what they think.
Talk
Right,
about the same.
right.
and that's fine.
Mhm.
But really, dating is, and we can flip it back and use court, right? Dating or courting someone on an ongoing basis is that you're constantly trying to understand that person, where they are in that stage of their life, and
Mm.
how they contribute to you and your relationship together.
Very, very insightful. Thank you, Dr. Manny. We got a question from a brother. As I enjoy when brothers ask questions. I really do. I really do. And this question is one that requires a lot of experience. So you already know where I'm going with this one. You already know. All right. The brother asks the following question. He says, so once the intrigue is gone, this goes back to what Fidel was talking about, the intrigue and the mystery, and I got to get back to that because it's like we just touched on it. Once the intrigue is no longer a mystery, has boredom become a factor? Once the intrigue is no longer a mystery, is now this boredom that sets in a huge issue? Just going right off of what Manny was saying about continuing to date. You've been in a relationship very long term, so you can speak to us about, do you get bored, right? What is the intrigue? Does the intrigue go and come? Talk to us about that.
Who's that directed to, Hakeem?
You.
Oh, it's directed to me. Oh, sorry.
Brother Mark, you
The
he
brother
knows,
with the
he
longest
knows,
tenure.
He knows.
Yes,
Go
he
for
has
it.
the
Go
longest
for it.
tenure.
You know, again, that goes. That's a great question. That
He
goes
just
back.
wanted a better introduction than that. He wanted you to say the
Yeah,
brother
he
with
wasn't
4
feeling that.
decades of experience under
He
his
wasn't
belt.
feeling that.
I think that, and that's a great question, but I think that goes back to the both of you having the same goals, the same things that you're looking to achieve together. It also depends on the individual. Once that, again, I've been married a long time. There's certain things that she'll do, and I'll go, man, that's new. Where'd that come from? So there's always something new. Dejan said something that was very important: the sense of humor, being able to laugh, having fun. There's nothing like having fun. If you're with a person that doesn't like to have fun, and you are a person that likes to have fun, that's something I think you better maybe re-examine. Again, Fidel talked about the opposites attract. Could be. My wife is not crazy over sports. I'm a basketball fanatic, but we understand each other. But we both like certain things, vacationing together, the Caribbean, certain things that we look forward to. Hey, what are we doing next year? Next year is Aruba, of course. Now with COVID, we ain't going nowhere. But to the brother that said, once that intrigue is gone, and that intrigue doesn't have to go away, by the way, and like Fidel says, they don't show you all your cards at one time. I've been married 43 years, and we change. She'll do something now, and I'll go, wow, that's different than you thought like 10 years ago. Yeah, well, I've changed. It's different now. So, oh, okay. But yeah, I think if you let boredom set in, it'll set in. Don't let boredom set in.
Profound. I see Deja, I see your hand right there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Fidel, I'm coming to you after this because I didn't think if we were to talk about how to attract women, one of the main areas is pickup art, right? There's pickup art, there's the mystery method, there's a whole bunch of guys out there that, I could talk about who study this stuff, and people study them. And one of the main things is mystery and intrigue. But it's crazy that we're saying mystery and intrigue on the other side. So I'm coming to you, Fidel, after we get to this question from Dejan, because, I really need to know more about that, but go for it, Dejan.
I just wanted to make this really quick point, because when Brother Mark was talking, it had dawned on me. I think about relationships and then friendships, right? So I think about the way that we view relationships in courting /dating. So when I'm with one of my boys, like I have friends that I have been friends with, I consider them to be brothers. I mean, for years on end, and I'm never bored with them. You like it's to the point. But my view with my brothers is, I'm not like for any of us. I know we all have best friends. When we became best friends with that person, we all some of them have funny stories. Oh, me and that person didn't even like each other, and now we're like the best of friends. Like, we can't get away from each other. But I was just thinking about, my intentions about when I meet another brother. It's like, yo, what's up? But there's no there's no alter, like I'm not coming. I lost the word, but there's no ulterior motive. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's no ulterior motive coming from me. I'm simply just trying to meet this brother, understand how he thinks, to see if it aligns with what I think, and I know whether or not me and him can actually be friends. And I think that if you take that perception or that concept and you use it towards a significant other that you're courting or dating, that it helps you with the boredom situation. Because I have friends to this day, I'm just not bored of them, and I laugh at them, and we bring up stories from years ago, and we still keep cracking up. And I think that when you're able to find that within your significant other, it's a beautiful thing, because you'll never become bored with that individual, because your love is timeless. My love with my brothers is timeless. No matter what, they could call me at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm coming. So I think it's a perception thing.
Dejan, that's a book.
I'm
I
sorry
like
about
that.
that. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
No, seriously.
Yeah, you were very distracted by what's between our legs.
Right.
Appreciate you, brother Dejan. Fidel, I'm coming to you. First, we got a question. And questions pop up, so they get priority.
Okay.
Communication seems to be the big go-to when things go sour. Is it overrated or is it spot on?
I hate to use something that's so common, but it's the truth. I don't know how else to say it in terms of the importance of communication. But here's the thing about communication. And that I heard, I think maybe in a couples counseling session, I might have heard this, but I heard someone say this, and it's so true. You have to know how to fight, how to disagree, how to communicate. It's not just enough that you talk, right? If what I'm doing is shouting at you every time you piss me off, technically I'm communicating, but it's the how I'm communicating that makes it all effective or non-effective. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to communicate. And Hawk, I know you teach, public speaking and things like that. You understand what I'm saying in terms of the how is as important as the what and
Right.
even the why. And so for me, it's been a process of learning how to communicate in a way that my wife understands, that I get my point across, that she doesn't feel slighted, she doesn't feel like I'm being, too harsh, and vice versa. When she's communicating to me, learning how to be present and understand what she's saying as well. And so I think that it is cliche, but there's not a person that's been in a relationship longer than 10 days that won't tell you that communication is important.
Fidel, I want to go to that intrigue question because there's some sisters that are watching that are trying to get a man.
I was hoping you went back to it. I'm loaded right now.
Okay, he's loaded.
I got him in a clip right now.
He's got him in the clip.
Yes.
And
Let them out.
unfortunately, we've reached our ending time, and we have okay.
That's all, folks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Fidel, there's some
Yes.
sisters who are trying to get a man tonight. You
Okay.
said be
Tonight?
intriguing. They want to know specifically how they can be intriguing.
So let me tell you, right? And I think this ties in everything that we've been talking about. Somebody asked about being bored with someone. Let me tell you something. Human beings are the most complex beings on the face of this earth. You are inherently complex. We talked about changing over time. It's in our nature to change and evolve. It's hard to know someone, even in the span of a lifetime. They can surprise you at 99, right? And so I think we put too much pressure on trying to figure people out. And when you think you figured someone out, you become bored. But you haven't been patient to allow them to show you a little bit more of them. I learn something new every day about my wife. Forget every month, every year, every day, because you got to be patient enough to allow them to reveal that to you. Now, so with this idea of being, having this mystique and this intrigue, if you are authentic. Now, Hawk, you've been out with me, and I've been out with you. And if I would describe you and I, we're like a
Fidel,
one.
we can't get into.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not
Okay,
gonna go
we
too
go.
much into it. We're talking about college days, but listen.
Watch yourself there now.
Now listen. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Hawk is
Fidel, we can't do
the talent acquisition. Hawk can go out and talk to anybody. And that is inherently who he is. It's his authentic self. He is a talker. Now, once he goes out and brings someone to the table, I am naturally gifted in getting at whatever I think is going to bring about good conversation.
You're the closer.
I am a conversationalist, right? But that's authentically who I am, right? So women are intrigued by Hakeem when he is who he is. This, boisterous, not ashamed, very confident person. And then as it relates to me, I think, folks are intrigued by, like, what does he mean by that? He's always bringing up these different angles. And so when a woman is, or a man, whomever, when you are authentically who you are, you don't try to be something that you're not, there is intrigue there, right? There is intrigue because you are complex by virtue of the way that you were designed. You don't have to try to do something, just be who you are. And those people. There's people in the crowd that they're confident in who they are and they're not trying to do too much. And it makes you want to know more about that person. So that to me is intrigue.
But then my question becomes, Dr. Manny, and I'm coming straight to you right after this, Mark. Dr. Manny, being yourself sounds like so easier said than done.
Absolutely.
And one of the things you talk about often, and I love it, is fear. Talk to me a little bit about, because these women want to get a man, but they want to be themselves too. Talk to me a little bit about fear and being yourself, and talk to us about what's going on there.
I agree with Fidel. This applies to men and women, right? The idea of being yourself is something that is not necessarily easy. And that's because we get a lot of messages about what we ought to be, how we should present ourselves, how we should be, where should we be in terms of our status. And that complicates things significantly because, like Fidel said, we are complex. And by pretending to be something else, we simplify ourselves to the point where there is no interest, right?
I'm going to pay you for that. That was worth some money right there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Think about this, right?
Powerful.
We copy certain traits that we think are ideal and eliminate everything about ourselves that is interesting.
Wow.
Because we want people to like us. And so we allow only that which we think people will like to show. Wow. The problem is, and this is the reality of it, that when we are relating to other people, we also have to feel safe being able to be ourselves, right? If you are asking someone to be their authentic self, but you can't appreciate that, then you are asking that person to take a risk and a risk that is not being corresponded. So I think that you can't demand or ask for someone to be authentic if you're not willing to be accepting of who they are. And so the same thing is true for us, right? If I'm going to be myself with you, I'm going to ask you to be accepting of who I am. And that will be the measure in which I see that correspond will tell me whether or not this is a good relationship to be transparent. You know what I mean? It would be great if we could be ourselves with every single person. But the truth is we have to code switch here and there. We have to show people certain colors sometimes because we may not be in a safe environment. But when you are in an intimate relationship, whether that be romantic or otherwise, you are and you feel like you're able to show them who you really are. That's because you feel safe and accepted in being able to do that. So I think that the secret there is recognizing it's going to be scary as hell, because the truth is that it is scary to reveal yourselves when we are in situations where people don't necessarily appreciate your true self. But it is a necessity if we want to have some deep relationship with someone.
So I'm having a reaction, and Dr. Manny, thank you, because we need that. We need to understand what's going on beneath these layers. So Dr. Manny, it's always good having a psychologist on the show, which is why the Man Cave is extra special.
We got a psychologist.
We have a whole psychologist. In the cave, there's an office and there's a psychologist in there.
And he is never wrong.
That's right.
Never put that up. And he is never wrong.
Oh my goodness, bro.
So, brothers, I'm having a
Why is our lawsuit coverage on that? I just want to make sure. I just want to know what kind of insurance we have.
we got the insurance. We got
okay, just make
we
sure.
got. Brothers, I'm having a reaction, and Mark, can we need to talk for a second, because I'm having a personal reaction, because Manny is saying, you have to be yourself, and sometimes people are themselves, but they're scared to make people work. Right? They're scared to make people, you said make people work. They keep it quiet. I don't really, a lot of women aren't requiring that nowadays.
Right.
Dejan,
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
They're not requiring work. So can
I'm sorry.
yeah. Because I just need to know from Mark, like, when you say she made you work, right? Can you just unpack that a little bit?
Sure. Well, one thing I do want to say for what Dr. Manny said about, I think some of the most intimate times that I had, even in dating and courting, was when I finally felt comfortable enough, and she finally felt comfortable enough to share some things, to say, I'm really scared about this. I don't know what I want to do. When you have those conversations, I'm not as confident as you think I am. Here's the real me. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm going to do. Even to this day, some of the most intimate times is when we can sit down and go, here's what's happening. I don't know why this is happening to me. I don't know why I do this. And, those to open up and, wow, that's the real me. So I appreciate Dr. Manny for saying that, because I think back on some of those most intimate times of when you break down and that wall, that plastic just comes off, and you share the real you, what's going on. I think for an answer to your question with Rebecca, and I mentioned before, I was young, and the young ladies I was dating were just ready, willing to go anywhere. Anything I said to do, it's like they were just so happy to be dating. While Rebecca was confident enough to say, I'm okay if I'm dating you, and I'm actually okay if I'm not. So I was like, and I didn't like that. I didn't want you to be okay unless you were dating me. And she made it plain, no, I like you and everything, and we can make this work, but I'm not going head over heels, and you're not going to be my end all and be all. And I think it's important, and I always tell this to couples, don't look for anyone to make you happy. Be happy yourself. Do you. Make sure you're happy. Don't look for someone to complete me. I can't stand that. Dr. Mann, I don't know if you want to take the reins on that, but he completes me. No, complete yourself. And
you better go ahead, Mark. That's what I'm talking about. You better go ahead, Mark.
But hold on, but Mark, if I can interrupt real quick, because that's the complete yourself. Like, I'm down with the t-shirt, I'm down. I gotta ask a question about Sister Becky. Because for the women that are watching, when you met her, she was that confident.
Yeah.
Right? But after being with her for so for so long, right? For such a period of time. What have you learned about Sister Becky? What do you think, just in knowing her for this long, was the reason why she was that confident, which made you put in that extra work?
I think it was her upbringing. I think it was her family. Strong mom, strong sisters, strong brother. I said she was confident. And then she might get mad at me for saying this, but she grew up in Gowanus Projects in Brooklyn. The projects in Brooklyn. Anybody know familiar with the projects in Brooklyn? But
I am.
she was proud. Always kept herself up. Wasn't thirsty, looking thirsty. That's the word that they're using now, that thirsty. You can tell people are thirsty. I got past that when I went to college and she was finishing up high school. She was actually finishing up a class. And she said to me, something, I need your help with some of these courses. And something that she was doing. And I was a very good typist at the time. I helped her type out all her papers. Something like that. This strong, confident woman, and everything else was like, something, I need your help with this class. I was like, oh yeah, finally. But that was one thing. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It touches on something where you have this, and sisters, y'all got to make it to Brooklyn. That's another thing. Sidebar, make it to Brooklyn. When you say this woman who grew up in Brooklyn, who exuded this strength, for a moment, let that down, so that you can come in and help her in an area that she needed help in. That is key. Ladies and gentlemen, I really want you to bring your attention to what Brother Mark just said. Vulnerability. I think there's a theme tonight. The theme tonight is what's the inside, what's on the inside. Let that come out. The intrigue, right? That's on the inside, right? The vulnerability, that's on the inside. Getting rid of the fear that Dr. Manny was talking about on the inside, right? Dejan spoke about ulterior motives that are on the inside, right? Freeing yourself of those expectations and just allowing yourself to get to know, to be known, right? Not just to get to know, but to be known without those agendas. Every single show, we have somebody wrap it up. And today, I'm going to choose Fidel to send us home.
I hit the lottery.
Let's go, Fidel.
I'm gonna choose Fidel, but unfortunately, due to time constraints, sorry, I can't get enough of that joke. I can't get enough of that joke. Fidel, take us home.
All right, so I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I want to say, I'm still ruminating over what Manny said that I thought was just so powerful. And it's kind of thematic of kind of all the things that we were talking about. And that is, you simplify yourself when you try to be like someone else. When you're trying to step outside who you are, it's easy for people to figure you out. If we are inherently complex, that means you already have everything you need to be intriguing, right? You already have it. And it's different strokes for different folks. Some people will gravitate toward that and others won't, but you have to be all right with that. And so I think that now is a time more so than any that people really need to put aside trying to allowing messages from outside tell them how they ought to be, how they should be, because it's not sustainable. Ultimately, a person's going to get to see the side that's the real you. And if this is not what they signed on for, they're going to vacate that relationship. So it's better up front to just be who you are. And I think that that is enough, because I think that we are designed complex, and it is enough for folks to, for a lifetime, spend their lives trying to get to know more about you. So be confident in who you are, the way you were created, the way you were designed, because that in the end is sustainable. Anything else is putting on airs and putting up a front that I don't think will stand the test of time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd be remiss, out of the tradition that Brother Mark started And I will continue if he doesn't do it himself. But in closing, signing off, thank you, Fidel, for bringing us home. I think the most attractive cologne you can wear is your faith. For me. And I think looking at somebody from a spiritual standpoint, it goes to what Dejan said. It kind of rids those agendas, right? It allows you to move without fear, as Dr. Manny was saying. You know, Fidel pretty much just wrapped it up and just let us know that, hey, when you get into that position, you know, things flow. What I'm saying is the best cologne for me has been Christ in my life and, you know, my faith. I would also want to say to those who are listening, laugh, and then go to Brooklyn, where Sister Becky is doing a training class on how to get a man. You are listening, and you have listened to the Man Cave Show. I thank you so much for tuning in. For everybody who asked questions, if you're watching now, thank you so much for watching this live broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. If you're watching tomorrow, 10 years from now, if your grandchildren are watching, if you're watching in 2070, yes, men did look this good back then. I'm just kidding. All right, so have a great night. Peace.
Peace.
Bye, everybody.
Love you all, guys.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.